Hi everyone, it's Gary Nicholson here for the Mountain Weather Information Service. This is your planning outlook updated on Thursday evening, the 10th of October. Now, I hate to say more of the same, but that's really what it feels like over the next week or so. It's still low pressure and unsettled conditions driving things as southwesterly winds sweep in from the Atlantic. Day-to-day detail is going to be quite tricky, so it's one to keep up to date with your local forecasts all the way through the period. There's the risk that sometime in the early stages of next week there could be a quite notable rainfall event. It's very much up for grabs at the moment, but that's one perhaps just to be aware of as we head into next week. Now, if, like us, you've been out and about on the hills this week, the word buffeting may have come to mind, and this was the scene on even a little one, Loughrig Fell, on Tuesday afternoon of this week. Certainly a blustery one, and that's a story that's been felt day in, day out for a little while. A bit more of that to come as well. Let's have a look through the charts. This is Friday. Low pressure is centred towards the north. We've got a frontal wave system that's running across central and southern parts of England and Wales, and actually that will largely clear from the Lake District on Friday morning. It'll leave a legacy of low cloud across the fells, but bases will tend to lift. Even the rain across Wales may tend to peter out from the northwest with time. And the strongest of the winds within the warm sector to the south of it will also tend to be pushed away through the day. Staying blustery though across many mountains. Scotland, the southwesterly wind is brisk, nearing gale force on the higher tops, and there'll be showers rattling in from the west once again. Into the weekend, and as suggested in the last video on Monday, we've got a waving front which is draped across the English Channel, so some consistency with the forecast from that time, and it looks as though it's staying around there. It's a showery story though, once again. It's a brisk southwesterly that is in charge. One or two of those showers on the heavy side, particularly more across Scotland, but they'll come in quite frequently to most western mountains on that brisk to near gale force southwesterly wind. A few lulls will be around. It's generally not quite as windy as has been seen during this past few days. Driest conditions, highest cloud bases toward the eastern side of most of the hills and mountains. Very complicated into Sunday. Low confidence in the forecast at this stage, I think, is all we can say. Various ripples of fronts coming up across the south of Britain, troughs more toward the north where showers may be organised. There's a chance that some places get away with a reasonable day, but what the final detail is at this stage, I wouldn't really want to nail down too cleverly. It looks as though the wind is lighter, though, as the low begins to open itself out and we lose the isobars across the map, so that maybe is one better thing, but who sees rain for longest, I wouldn't want to get too clever on just at this stage. Temperatures still a little bit on the cool side. They're above freezing, but on the higher tops only by a degree or so in Scotland. Now, if confidence is quite low for Sunday, then Monday isn't going to get much easier. It's this low pressure system that's cut off toward the south around Biscay. Front still spinning northwards from that. It's likely to be a day again where the winds are relatively light. There'll be some showers around. There could be some dry and bright intervals. It's the idea of maybe some banks of cloud at various levels, some fog maybe in some of the valleys and the glens first thing. So a chance of some local inversions being around in this slightly slacker setup that develops through Sunday and into Monday. A lot of uncertainty, must be said, where that little low and associated fronts goes to by Tuesday. The next systems are waiting in the wings. Again, treat this chart almost with a pinch of salt in terms of the detail, but we're just watching at that point for what's coming in next off the Atlantic. So this is the situation around Tuesday then. There's low pressure that will have been across the British Isles in previous days, and its exact story is still up for grabs. The next trough feature, though, over the Atlantic is the interesting one, and I'll show this chart and focus on this one really around, say, Tuesday, perhaps into Wednesday, as we develop quite a straight line flow of tropical maritime air that's coming up from around the Azores, and that's always an ominous sign because those can produce these big orographic rainfall events where the southwesterly conveyor belt runs into the hills and mountains and just wrings itself out like a sponge over many, many hours. Now, who gets that, where it's aligned to? Well, anybody's guess at this stage. The focus could be from the Lake District, it could be more into Snowdonia, or even the Brecon Beacons. I wouldn't want to get clever for now, but it's just that risk of that straight line southwesterly interacting with the mountains and the risk of a big rainfall event from that. A lot to play for. It will depend on what happens in the previous days through the weekend and just beyond, but that's the risk into the middle of the week. Later in the week, as time goes on, it goes back more to a west by southwesterly, and the idea of showers, windy conditions with the risk of gales. And if you could hear that in the background, no, that wasn't a sound effect, that was the rain lashing against the window as it comes down sufficiently heavy once again. Still in the Lake District at the moment. Feels like that stormy weather sketch, doesn't it? Every time you mention it, you're in for a soaking. Stay up to date then every day on our website with all your local details for the days ahead. A lot of complexity in there at the moment. I'll update the video again for you on Monday. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.